In our first installment of the Mentored by Adversity series for Season 2 More Than a Pod, we're actually going to be focusing on Kobe Bryant and deconstructing the Mamba mentality from a leadership perspective. Accountability, self-confidence, the pursuit of excellence, all great attributes that he exhibited. So you're not going to want to miss this. Stay tuned for episode 27 of the Legacy and Leadership Podcast. Right about now, you are listening to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, a show where we discuss living as a leader worth following, leading others to do the same, and in doing so, leaving a legacy for future generations. My name is Jimmie Gonzalez Jr., a learning and development professional and leadership coach, sitting down with my co-host, Anthony Devon Watts Jr., an expert contact center leader that has effectively led and developed dynamic teams with high motivation. Together, we have over 30 years experience in the corporate game. Join us as we discuss our growth as leaders, share the lessons we've learned, and interview others to see how their leadership style was shaped as they were mentored by adversity. Welcome back, Legacy Leaders, to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, presented to you by the Legacy Leadership Learning Group. I am your co-host, Jimmie Gonzalez, along with my good friend and co-host, Devon Watts Jr. Remember, this is a show where we teach you really what it takes to live as a leader worth following, how to lead others to do the same, and then in doing so, really leave a legacy for future generations. If you're new, or you're a loyal listener, we definitely please ask you to rate and review this podcast. We would definitely sincerely appreciate that very much. And if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, we would love for you to like the video and also subscribe to the channel. And then make sure that you share this with another individual that you know would be able to benefit from this content. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you're here with us, we are going to be talking about Kobe Bryant. This is our first installment of MBA, Mentored by Adversity, where we typically bring on a guest and ask them a series of questions about their leadership style and how that style was crafted and grown through adversity that they've gone through in their life. With the anniversary of Kobe passing away, his daughter Gigi, and of course the other folks that were in the plane crash, we just thought that it would be fitting to kind of skip the guest and go through the same format, but really again focus on Kobe Bryant, his life, and what we've learned and kind of our thoughts on his leadership style. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Kobe Bryant, for some of our folks out there that maybe don't necessarily know all the specifics about him, was a one-time MVP within the NBA, National Basketball Association, was a two-time Finals MVP, went to 18 All-Star games, four-time was the All-Star MVP, All NBA First Team a number of times, of course won 5 championships. 3 with Shaq, and then 2 without Shaq, with Paul Gasol and some other great folks that he had on the team, and also has the second highest score within NBA history, which he scored 81 points, which is right after Wilt Chamberlain at his 100 points.
I still need the receipts on Wilt's 100. That wasn't in HD.
All we have is the picture of him holding up the 100. That's all we got.
How convenient.
Exactly. So that's Kobe in a nutshell. I mean, and regarded as one of the greatest, if not the greatest player. There's always debates about that during his time, but that's again not why we wanted to talk about Kobe. If you know anything about Kobe, and if you're a fan, whether you're a really follower or even a distant fan, you have definitely heard about the Mamba mentality. Yeah, and we wanted to deconstruct from our perspective the Mamba mentality, and again talk about some differences in regards to Kobe and his leadership, and really what has stood out to us and what has inspired us along the way. So again, those were his accolades. Again, hold on and stay with us, because we're going to be getting into the deep dive into his leadership skills and what we think about that. But we also wanted to talk about, again, why besides all of the great things that he did on a basketball court, why Kobe Bryant? I'll start off, man. I remember it vividly. I have a close friend of mine who I was at his house, and we were just having a conversation, and you get the notification on your phone, and it's ESPN, and I read on my phone that Kobe has passed away in a helicopter crash. And I was like, no way. And I told my friend Elliot, I'm like, Elliot, you need to turn on television. So he does that, and we just sit there in front of the TV for, 10, 15 minutes or so, just kind of watching and getting the news and absorbing everything, and obviously just realizing kind of the heartbreak, and also there wasn't that many details at that moment, right? It was still just breaking news. And at that point, I was there for maybe 20 more minutes, watching from when I got the notification. I just knew it was time to leave. And then I'm going to meet my wife and my daughter. And then I'm also hearing that it wasn't just him, possibly his daughter, other people that were, in this crash as well. And yeah, just, for me, at 43 now, 42 at the time, and thinking about myself, the age that I was at, my daughter, my youngest, who at the time was 13 years old as well. Just so many similarities from that perspective. And it just really hit me hard, man, to lose somebody at such a young age. And again, what he meant to the basketball community, but even to the world, because of his focus, his dedication. And again, some of the things anyway, that we're going to be breaking down. So it just touched me, man, even this morning. And as we were kind of studying and preparing for this, there was some moments where, I just even still kind of got emotional just thinking about that time, and just really thinking and listening to him and listening to other people talk about him and what he meant to them, again, more specifically from a leadership perspective. So I just want to share that because, again, that was just a fresh memory of that moment, and kind of how it impacted me at the time.
Yeah, man. I can completely relate because I know when we got the news. So my youngest, Man, his birthday's the 25th, and Kobe passed on the 26th. And so we were recovering from just, his first birthday and having folks over, right? Kind of taking it a little bit easy, watching TV, all that good stuff, man. And then the news came through, and immediately, like, I felt myself like overwhelmed with emotions. Again, not because of, his physical, prowess and what he was able to do on the court. I mean, that stuff always, I don't care, who you are or in what realm, when you see somebody living out their fullest capabilities and doing that at a high level, that's always entertaining. Like, I'm not a huge golf fan or a tennis fan, but when you see somebody who is the pinnacle of excellence living out the best version of themselves, that's always entertaining. So seeing Kobe on the court has always been entertaining, right? Because you could see he was really in his element. He was fulfilling his calling, his purpose, something that he loved. But that's not what broke my heart, man. It was my deep appreciation for his mental prowess. And I think that's where, without question, he is Hall of Fame from a mental perspective. And there's just so much that as a young man growing up and just having that example and seeing that example of what does it look like to conduct yourself with excellence in your space and the pursuit of excellence, that really rubbed off on me. It rubbed off on me as an athlete. It rubbed off on me when I got into the professional space, and there was just so much that I was able to learn from his mindset. And then, to your point, as more stories came, more news came out, and then it was clear that, it just wasn't him. It was other individuals. It was his daughter. It was, friends and family member, friends that close friends of the family and their children, right? And you start thinking about all those things, and you can't help but think about it as a parent. And just, again, my heart broke again. And so it just seems appropriate that for somebody of his caliber that has truly had a tremendous impact on some of the most formative years of my upbringing, for me as an athlete, to me as a competitor, to me as a person, to me from a mental perspective, it seems only fitting that we take time to do his memory justice and really to break down, to your point, what that Mamba mentality is about. Because again, even after his career, like during his career, it became prevalent. You started hearing that kind of that branding that was associated, with how he approached the game and approached the preparation. Post his career, as he started to go into the second phase of his life, and really connected with his community and doing phenomenal things, just as a citizen of the world, being an ambassador for the WNBA and what he meant for, representation and what I would consider definitely a feminist, right? A feminist or a champion of the feminist movement, in terms of how he advocated for representation and inclusion and equality, and the pride that he had with being a girl dad, right? A girl dad.
Yeah.
Then you started to hear that Mamba mentality, thrown around a lot more as athletes focused on living that example that Kobe set. And so I think it's become trendy, it's become catchy as a brand, but people don't necessarily understand the components that contribute to the Mamba mentality. Because I really do believe if you listen to Kobe's, if you listen to him speak, if you listen to him talk, if you watch his example, there are key things that contribute to the Mamba mentality that you can deconstruct, you can learn from, and then you can incorporate into whatever you call your court, right? Whatever you call your court. And so I'm excited to be able to share this with our legacy leaders, and to, break down somebody that meant so much to both of us.
Absolutely, for sure. So let's jump into it. We went over his accolades. And the one thing I didn't mention that for me is one of the most impressive of his accolades. And again, we will get into this as we pinpoint specific areas of his leadership style that we feel, again, are part of what makes up that Mamba mentality, is the fact that he even won an Oscar, for his short animated film. And again, it just speaks to the hard work, the dedication, and just doing everything with excellence. So to somewhat follow, kind of our process and our method, right? That self-leadership is important. So we can kind of start with some of the attributes that maybe fit more into that self-leadership, right? And one thing that we knew about Kobe Bryant is that he was self-confident, in a number of ways. And as we were getting ready for this, and you can see as I was watching videos and kind of, listening and reading and stuff like that, he made a comment that, like, the person that I am now and like the leader that I am now, I was that way at, 19 years old. But he was doing this, as a professional basketball player with grown men who are like 35 years old, and they weren't hearing that from this basically a teenager, when he started. So the self-confidence was always there. But I think for him, it was learning, like, it was never going to go away. That was just his personality. But how do I learn to within that self-confidence still build trust in the people that were around me, so they can see that's just not like cockiness. It really is just a self-confidence that, one, I'm blessed with skills and God-given abilities. But then when you said earlier, when you add on the level of intensity and work that he put in to maximize that potential, I think just really brought that level of self-confidence to, just kind of through the roof, when it came to his personality.
Absolutely. Well, and I would say kind of in that space, especially in the professional space, right, there's multiple ways, or professional sports space, there's multiple ways that you can build rapport. And what we're talking about is, he had to establish trust. And you've heard us, if you've been following us for a while, we broke down the formula to trust, which is competency and rapport. And there was no question about his competency when you're considering what he was able to physically do on the court as a 19-year-old kid coming out of high school, how he was well regarded. I mean, consider the top pick, arguably the top pick. I think he ended up going second overall. And then now he steps into this space with other individuals who have been established professionals performing at that level. And again, you have that age gap, and you can't just be good at, at hitting a jumper for me to be moved, for me to want to follow, for me to want to lead. You have to be able to build rapport. And what I appreciated about Kobe is his approach to building rapport. He still didn't deviate or acquiesce to who he was as an individual. He didn't shrink himself in order to build rapport. It wasn't about quelling his self-confidence. He just knew, okay, look, naturally, I am not necessarily the small talk chit chat guy. That's not me. And I'm not going to try and be that, right? I'm going to be 100% authentically myself, because again, back to rapport, authenticity is a critical component. But he knew the best way that I can build rapport with folks is for them to understand that my competency and my confidence is earned. It's not taken. It's earned by my effort, by how I work, and by modeling the desire to work at my craft and to put in the hours. Through that, people was able to establish rapport, because they started to understand, all right, it's not there's not an arrogance there. There is an assuredness rooted in the fact that he knows he put in the work to have this type of aura, right? To have this type of aura, to carry himself that way. And so that's one of the lessons that I just really walked away from, or walked away with about his story. Again, the different ways that you can build rapport. Rapport doesn't necessarily mean that you have to shrink who you are, compromise who you are. It means leaning into who you are, being 100% authentic, right? And then demonstrating through your effort, right? Earning through your effort the respect, the trust, the rapport with others around you. And so, I just thought that was super, super powerful, man. He's definitely self-confidence personified. When you hear him talk, when you hear his fire to compete, just his fire to compete. I don't think there was ever a moment where he felt like, I'm not the best player on this court, bar none. I am not the best at what I do, bar none. Like, I think in every facet of his life, whether it be on the court, off the court, again, as a father, as a philanthropist, as an entrepreneur, just that mindset of, I am the best at what I do. I can do this. Whatever I want to do, I can absolutely achieve. That really resonated with me, man.
Yeah, it's important, to be a leader and to inspire folks. People appreciate self-confidence, and they appreciate seeing somebody who has a really good understanding of who they are, what their passions are, what drives them, what standards they have. He was very clear on what standards he had for himself. And because he had those standards, he knew that he was going to place those same standards on his teammates. But again, that confidence, people appreciate that. And especially, you talk about, coming through in the clutch. Having that confidence allows you to perform better in those moments, and it gives other people the confidence in you that you're not always going to be perfect, but more times than not, you're going to come through in the clutch. And, we've seen it. We've had our own stories and examples of some really extreme or kind of fiery moments, in the business world. Both of us together, we have over 30 years, within corporate America, and leading teams as small as 5 to leading, 250. And even now, you as a director, the multitude of people that you're responsible for. But when you're in those moments, there's situations where things go wrong, and sometimes they go wrong fast, and people are looking to you to see how you're going to handle it. And having that confidence that I've been here, I've put in the work, I'm going to trust in the knowledge I have, the instincts that I have, and whatever it takes, I'm going to do what needs to be done to resolve this situation. Having that self-confidence is seen by others. It again grows their trust in you, but it also provides a little bit of sometimes a lot of confidence to your teammates. Like, man, well, if this person is confident and they're feeling like we're going to get through this, like, I know that we're going to get through this. And that was definitely another aspect that is important for leaders, and you definitely saw it in Kobe as well. Is just the ability to inspire people, and get the most out of them and show them that we can achieve, that we can win a chip, we can win that championship, we can beat last quarter's goals, we can secure the funding for this new business, whatever that it is that you're looking to achieve, and that kind of that monumental goal that you have set for yourself. Being able to inspire folks to do that and to want to put in the work, and figuratively speaking, run through a wall with you and for you. It all comes down to how you speak to people and how you're able to inspire them to reach deep down inside of them, so that we can, as a team, reach to those higher levels of achievement.
Absolutely. One of the things you said that really stuck out to me too is, the instincts. And I can't, it's not lost on me that for him to be so young, entering the NBA, right? Entering this professional space and thinking about where I was at 19, to have the instincts of leadership, right? The instincts of leadership, like to know how he needs to comport himself, to know the amount of work that he needs to put in, like the process of learning how to be a professional, period, in any industry is a learning curve. It's a steep learning curve, right? Because you're learning all of these nuances and new norms and unwritten rules, right? Things that are not explicit rules, but they're kind of implied rules about, just how you carry yourself, how you communicate, how you dress, how do you prepare? Like, again, nobody is telling you as a professional, whether you're an athlete or, getting out into the world as an adult, nobody's telling you that your bedtime, like you have a set bedtime, right? But you also understand that if you have obligations and commitments and people are counting on you, that you have to regulate yourself. Like you have to self-impose, bedtimes and making sure that you're getting meaningful rest and sleep and all of those things so that you can be the peak you. And so I was floored. I'm floored when I think about the instincts that he demonstrated at 19 years old, about learning how to be the consummate professional in terms of his craft, in terms of his preparation. And you can tell that from his rookie year to the year that he retired, that level of that standard that he held himself to never deviated. Like it didn't change. Like the same expectations he had of himself as a rookie and getting in court work and getting in, free throws and 3-pointers and putting time in the gym time, right? That didn't change even after he won 5 rings and, was MVP and 18-time, All-Star and All-NBA. Like that didn't change. The level of self-discipline, the amount of instincts it takes in order to maintain that is also impressive, because I think we see it sometimes even in our own lives, right? The habits and the disciplines that we've put in place before we've achieved what we set out to achieve. And then once we hit that level of achievement, to maintain that level of intensity and consistency in our habits, sometimes we struggle with.
Yeah.
Sometimes, we struggle with and we slip. And to see that was not the case in terms of his approach to the game, I think that there's a hell of a lesson in that as well.
Yeah, that was, part of what you just said, talking about habits and routine is one of the things that we actually called out in the Productivity Secrets video series that I did. That's a part of our Focus for Success online course, our first online course that we have. So if you guys haven't checked that out, definitely we'll make sure again that the website address for that is in the show notes. But the Focus for Success helps you with productivity secrets and diffusing distraction. But again, those habits and how important it is to create that routine and sticking to that routine on a consistent basis, and how it allows you to perform so much better, not just for that day, but the residual impact that has when you start to do that day in and day out for 1 month, 3 months, a year, now 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And you may make adjustments along the way, definitely, but just keeping to those habits, by the time you know it, when it comes to, especially if you're thinking about your craft and what you're trying to do and what you're passionate about, and focusing on it intently like that for that length of time, that's how you truly become a master at what you do. And of course, the accolades that we've mentioned, again, I mean, he was just great at what he did, but it was those seemingly little things, but those little things added up, and the daily habits and the daily routines that he had, that were instinctual, that had to do with his level of discipline, that allowed him to be as great as he was. So self-confidence is key from our perspective when it comes to the Mamba mentality and leading with that Mamba mentality, the ability to inspire folks and get them to maybe see things in themselves that they don't necessarily see, to get them to want and desire to achieve more and to put in the work to get there. Now that doesn't always happen, right? So you can be really good at inspiring people and getting them to feel kind of that good feeling that, yeah, I want to do that. But then the hard work comes in. And if they're not doing the hard work, the ability to hold people accountable. Number one, to hold yourself accountable, which again, he exuded that, exemplified that on a consistent basis. But because of that, and because of the level of work that he put in, he felt like he had no choice. Like he demanded that accountability from everybody else. And if you're not going to work hard and do what you need to do and push yourself to the max, then really I don't want to be around you. Like you're not going to be a teammate. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I probably would say when you hear about how people talked about his personality, and he probably did, I don't want to be around you. And he wasn't a big talker like that. You know what I mean? So have to be able to hold people accountable. And what I liked about what I saw, as we were preparing for this, and I know you want to tell a story about Allen Iverson. It might not be about this particular section, but if you know anything about Allen Iverson, one of the most famous sound bites is him talking about practice. We're talking about practice, not a game. We're talking about practice. But Kobe had like the complete opposite thought process. Mindset. No, we're going to practice, and we're going to practice hard, and we're going to work and play harder in practice than probably we do in the actual game, because we're pushing and we're working so hard in practice that it's going to come even that much easier in the game itself. And when it does get hard, like we've put in the work, we've prepared for this. That gets back to the self-confidence. We're confident in this moment because not just myself, but I pushed you, I held you guys accountable. We held each other accountable to put in that work. So now when we're meeting those tough times, we have the confidence as well that we're going to be able to get through this. But it comes down to accountability, and to be able to speak that way to other people, to hold them accountable and demand that from them.
Yeah, this is what I would say he's probably the most well-known for in terms of the relationship that he's had with his teammates.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I know, you guys may have seen the clips of the Laker practice, and he's just calling everybody out, and he's, yelling and like, we saw for Sharman and just going off. Right. But again, it comes back to that accountability and earning that right through his effort, through his hard work, through his own self-accountability, to create that healthy friction with his team. And
Yes.
what I love is that when we're talking about accountability, he never expected his teammates to deliver the same level of talent as him, right? As a leader, but he demanded that they provide the same level of effort.
Yes.
And those are two different things. And I think that's definitely something that I've always carried with myself as a leader. I've never looked at my team and said that they need to have the same level of talent or skill set as me. I've never required that. But I did expect that they have the same level of effort as me, right? As me. And I think, like, when I think about Kobe, that's exactly one of the things that just resonates is going back to that practice. He's not asking everybody out there, like, all y'all need to be able to score 81 and hit the clutch shot. That's not your game. He knows what his talent and his game is, but damn it, the way I'm killing myself, right, for this team, I need to see that same level of effort for everybody, from the star, from me to the guy at the end of the bench. And if that effort is not there, that's when you started to see that healthy friction of challenging people, right? Challenging his teammates in order to hold them to a higher standard and for them to get better. And I keep coming back to healthy friction because I think that was one of the skill sets for sure that Kobe had in spades. Mm-hmm. I even recall, hearing a quote from him just kind of around that. And, I recall him saying that, like, the topic of leadership can be a touchy one, because a lot of leaders fail at having the bravery to touch that nerve or strike that chord with their teammates. Mm-hmm. And for him throughout the years, he just never really had that fear of that healthy friction. But it was always from a sincere place of helping to raise the performance of those that were around him. When you talked about inspiration and, how his effort, his confidence and his effort helped to inspire others. And he was well aware of that. He was well aware of the power of his example, not just for those that played with him, but those that he was going to play against. And I know, you'll have a story that can kind of highlight that from something we heard from Jay Williams about the power of his effort or his example. Mm-hmm. But just talking about inspiration, Kobe, also said that for him, the most important thing to him from a leadership perspective was to try and inspire people in all the different ways that you can inspire them, to try and inspire them so that they can be great in whatever they want to do. And for me, the operative word there of that phrase is for them to be great in whatever they want to do. They want to do, right? Not what I want them to do. And so that lesson just as a leader about, I have an obligation, if I know what your aspirations are, to help bring out the best in you, whether that means, encouragement, motivation, or healthy friction, so that you can be great in whatever you want to do, not what I want you to do. Mm-hmm. If you signed up for this and you're saying, hey, this is what I want to do, as a leader, I have an obligation to help you be great at what you want to do. And I just think that was powerful because every single person that he was balling with was living out their dreams. As a kid, these folks have spent years and years on this craft, playing a game that they loved, that they did for fun, that they used to do when there was nobody in the stands and there was no endorsement deals to worry about or anything like that. Like, they were just picking up the ball and playing the game that they love. And so to be blessed enough to be in a position to turn that into a career, to turn that into an opportunity to feed your family, right? To pursue a championship, to perform at the highest level with some of the best players in the world. Like, this is what you want to do. And so I'm not going to allow you to fall short of your greatness, your potential for greatness. And I think, just Kobe definitely believed that. He exemplified that. He personified that. I'm not going to let you fall short of your potential for greatness when this is what you wanted to do. And that's definitely a lesson that I've just carried with myself, man, from his example.
Again, talking about inspiring, right? It's just inspiring to hear him say those things and to watch how that was played out and lived out in his life. I was listening to a clip of him on the Joe Rogan podcast, and they were talking about the relationship with him and Shaq. And of course, there's a number of stories and books written and stuff like that. But the question he asked him was like, was there ever a time that you and Shaq didn't speak? And Kobe said, no. Like, I was always talking. We were always communicating. It may not have always been like friendly or kind of positive, communication, but I was always communicating with him. And one of the points that he was making too, to go back to what you said and piggyback off of that, one thing that's inspiring is that I think he also, when it comes to accountability, is that he honor that opportunity that you were talking about. Like, you have these skill sets, this gift that you've been blessed with, honor that with putting in the work. So he knew, at a certain point in his career, like Shaq was pretty much saying, well, why do I need to work as hard when I know Kobe's going to, be working out 10 hours a day so I can kind of relax and chill. And like, Kobe's like, no, like, that's not how we do it. Like, if I'm going to be working 10 hours a day, again, I expect you to be working just as hard. And that was, where some of that rift and that break, came in their relationship and all that kind of stuff. But it was just a point that, one, he's super transparent, which is needed when you talk about healthy friction and holding people accountable, just being real with folks. And there's always going to be communication. Sometimes we're afraid, again, to touch that nerve and to have those conversations, but he leaned into it. He leaned into it and made sure that you were going to know how he felt. And it is up to you to decide what you wanted to do with that. So definitely self-confident, definitely an inspiring leader, definitely help people accountable. And then one of the other things that, that we wanted to touch on, which it was a good segue to what you were just talking about as well, is just that pursuit of excellence. Everything that I'm going to do it with excellence. And again, I want to inspire and in some ways hold people accountable to doing the same thing in their life. So one of the accolades that I mentioned that I kind of forgot about at the beginning was the fact that he won an Oscar for the production of this animated film. So as he was going through that process and talking to animators and designers, like, he was asking those questions, and really trying to gauge like what is the level of their passion for what they do. And I only want the best. And if you don't think you're the best, or you're not aspiring to be the best, then you're not the right person for this type of project. And again, just demanding that level of excellence from himself. But again, because he did it of himself, he was able to demand that level of excellence from everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, one of the quotes that come to mind, that I read, as just kind of preparing for us to talk about his impact, that lines up to that, is he was talking about, how you're remembered. And I believe he said, like, it's one thing that you can control and that you're responsible for, and that's for how people remember you or don't remember you. So don't take it lightly. And that, I just thought that was so appropriately Kobe, right? To say, hey, you're responsible for how people remember you or how they don't remember you, right? So don't take that lightly. He definitely didn't take that lightly by any stretch of the imagination. Like you said, just that constant pursuit of excellence, no matter, where he was in terms of, his accolades or his achievement or his success in his career. Matter of fact, I remember I watched was it a documentary? I think it was a documentary or a clip where people were obviously, talking about some of the most impactful moments from their exposure to Kobe, and really just his competitive fire, right? His competitive fire. I would, say bar none, he's probably top two in the history of the game, and probably, one top two athletes, period, in terms of just their overall competitive fire. Like, everything was going to be a competition. It doesn't matter. But they were known for, in the summertime, ball players will show up and, they'll go to, different pickup games and stuff like that, like charity games, celebrity games. And he was playing at this charity game And he had a flight to catch. Like he had a legit commitment. He was going to do this. This was just like, raise some money for the kids and stuff like that. And he was going to go on his way. And as they're playing the game, and you can see it on the clip. I definitely want to make sure I find it so we can include it for our listeners if they want to go and peep it themselves. But you can see on the clip, like his group, his people are telling him, like, "Hey, Kobe, like it's fourth quarter, right? It's gotten a close game, contentious game or whatever. Like, hey, Kobe, like we gotta go to make your flight." And you see him saying, "Now let me finish it. Like let me finish this game. Like it's close. Like I want to win. I want to win a charity game, right?" And they're like, Cope, but we got a commitment. He's like, "Hey, let me finish this game." He continues to play, right? They end up calling timeout. Time goes down. The game is it's a 1 point game, right? So they're down by 1, right? And so again, just that Mamba mentality, that Kobe moment, right? They already told him about 20 minutes ago, "Hey, we have to go." And he was saying, "No, I want to finish this game, and it's for this moment." And you see him in the huddle, and they're talking, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to hit the game winner. Like, we're going to win this, guys. We got this. Like, I'm going to hit the game winner in the huddle." And everybody knows who's going to shoot the ball, right, for this. And sure enough, bro, he comes down the court, comes off of a pick, little shoulder hezzy, and pops it. And ends up hitting the game winner at the buzzer beater of this charity game to go up by 2, and made himself late. They had to reschedule his flight for whatever his real commitment was, because he was so committed to excellence that he couldn't even turn it off for the charity game. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about the effort, and just the focus, the intensity, regardless of what the stakes were, right? Regardless of what the stakes were, like whether it was for the NBA championship or whether it was just for this charity game, he approached it with that same mindset, because excellence is habitual. Excellence is a habit, right? And so if I constantly am flexing this habit and demonstrating this habit, then it's nothing. It's nothing for me when the stakes are raised. I've been doing this. I was telling myself that I'm going to, kill myself and make sure that we win in a charity game. The charity game meant the world to me. So can you imagine what this championship means to me and what I'm willing to put in? And so I love that, because again, it's an example of how you should never let the circumstances dictate your effort, when you know that, again, excellence is habitual. And so, yeah, man, I just thought that was a super, super powerful clip. I was watching, I was cracking up, because they're literally like, "Hey, bro, like my job is to help you stay on time and like manage your schedule, and you have commitments." And he's like, "Nah, nothing is more important than this charity game right now, and making sure that the team that I'm on wins, because this is my habit. Excellence is my habit. I'm a winner." I thought it was awesome.
I think it also speaks to his ability to be engaged in the moment. Is definitely that drive for excellence and not wanting to lose. But again, kind of for a typical person, it'd be easy to say, "All right, well, no, I got to go." But realizing, one, I want to win this game. And I'm pretty sure he's also thinking about the people that are watching in this charity game, but whatever it meant for that organization and those people, but just being focused and fully engaged in that moment. And what I love too, what I saw in some of the clips, there was a clip that I was watching where Kobe was hurt, and he was in his suit during the game. And during, the breaks, he's sitting there with the pad, and he is just teaching. He is teaching, and he is inspiring, and he is instructing, which is another super high quality of a leader. And I'm sure in that moment, while he wanted to win, and he wanted to do it with excellence, like that was a moment to also teach those people that were on his team, right, and to inspire them in that moment, as opposed to saying, "Oh, sorry guys, I got to go because I have this other obligation I need to get to." So again, just being fully engaged in that moment. What you talked about, habitually doing those things. He was saying how he realized at one point, for very consistent with his daily routine. And I guess he was waking up like maybe 6 to 8, come home, rest a little bit, eat, go back, and get another 2 hours or so. So I think the way he described it told him maybe he was working like 4 or 5 hours throughout the day. Then he realized, well, if I get up at 4 o'clock and I can get to the gym by 5, and I can work out for 2 hours, 5 to 7, come home, go back for maybe 9 to 11, come back home, go back for another 2 hours, come back, go back for another 2 hours. So now he's literally working out and focused for 8 hours a day. But what he said is, and he knew, which is another point that I forgot to write down, but he studied the game and he studied people. And he knew the workout routines of his competitors. So he knew if I add another 4 hours of practice and working out to my day, every week, every month, every year that I do that, because you can't get time back. So while those people, those other individuals were putting 2 or 3 hours of work in every day, he's putting 8. And again, the compounding effect of that after so many years, he's like, in 5 years, how much more time do I have over these individuals? Because I made those adjustments and I was disciplined, I was dedicated. And again, that pursuit of excellence drove him to say, no, well, I know this guy's working out 4 hours. I need to work out 6, 7, 8 hours a day. But again, the thoughtfulness to know that 5 years of me doing this, and they're only putting in 3 or 4, I'm going to be light years ahead of them. And there's no way they can make that up. You just can't. Definitely. You cannot make it up because it's time has passed. Math. And again, it's so critical to being engaged in that moment. And I'm going to take advantage of the time that I have, because I know that it's fleeting. I know that it's not promised. And once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah. So what I love about that too is he really personified what happens when talent and hard work coalesce, right? Like, I know I was sharing with you, for my boys, for Gio, and even Lennox, even though he can barely understand, right? Is I stress to them how hard work will always beat out talent. Hard work will always beat out talent. No matter how talented you are, if somebody's working harder, hard work will beat talent. Now, when talent decides to work hard, that's a scary thing. And Kobe is a perfect example of that. Like, coming into the league from a talent perspective, there was no question about his game and his skill set. I mean, he's blessed with, with 6'7", 6'8", good handles, great jump shot, good feel for the game, instinctive feel for the game, still had athleticism. So he's jumping out of the gym. Like, he had all of these physical attributes that were going for him. Right. And it was very easy for him. It could have been very easy for him to rest on those laurels and just depend on the fact that he was the most athletic person on the court. Right. And see where that took him. But he didn't just, settle for being the most athletically gifted. He wanted to be the most mentally gifted, and he wanted to be the most gifted from an effort perspective. And we all have examples within our own lives, or even watching sports, where you see somebody and they're playing at the highest level, they're competing like hell, and they don't necessarily have the most natural gifts, but their effort has earned them the opportunity to be on that field, right, or to be in that space, and you admire that. And then we also have examples of individuals who are just some of the most naturally talented, God-gifted, given ability, but not putting in the effort, and they're able to still perform. They're able to still get by, but you always think about, like, how much better could they be? And, Kobe was the example of where you have, the hard work and commitment to effort, like somebody who had no talent with the God-given talent and ability. That's when you surpass great and you become something transformational. And so, to hear him put in that type of work, and what I love about it too is, it was such a juxtaposition to some of his peer group, right? Because like you and I were talking about AI, and Allen talking about practice, and Kobe's the exact opposite. He's like, no, yeah, practice absolutely matters. We gonna practice hard as hell. I remember you reading a story from Allen Iverson, kind of talking about when he first came to LA to play the Lakers. And it's his second or third year. Like, it was around the same time that Kobe had actually started, and so they were both on the rise. And again, they have a relationship. They were in the same draft class, and then Kobe went second, AI went third, or something like that, right? So they link up when Allen comes into town. Kobe picks him up from the airport. Right, all right, let's go grab a bite to eat. They go grab a bite to eat, and they're eating, they're talking, they're catching up, they're just kind of shooting the breeze like folks do. Right, it gets to like maybe about 10, 11 o'clock at night. All right, man, let's head out. I'm leaving. Right, like, let me take you to your hotel. So Kobe ends up taking Allen to the hotel, and as Allen's getting out, AI's getting out the car. He's like, hey, bro, like, it's LA. Like, what's popping in LA? Like, what you about to get into? And Kobe was like, well, I'm about to go to the gym. Like, I'm about to go to the gym and put up some of these shots. And Allen just like immediately felt like, man, is he serious? Because in Allen's mind, what he was about to get into, the club and the nightlife.
Yep.
Right. And that's just the difference, right? Both of them God-given, otherworldly talent. Allen Iverson, by far, is probably one of the most gifted all-around athletes, like pound-for-pound athletes. I mean, he was a phenomenal football player, phenomenal basketball player. The things that he was able to accomplish on the court was tremendous, right? And he's definitely a Hall of Famer in his own right with some of the things that he's been able to accomplish. But you have Kobe, who has that same level of talent, but a different level of drive. And the only example that you really need, the only stat that you really need, because both of them put points on the board, both of them have scoring titles, all that stuff, is, how many rings does Allen Iverson have? How many rings does Kobe have? Right? That's the stat by itself. What do we associate Kobe with, and his story, and what do we associate with Allen Iverson's story, right? I just think that, man, that's powerful, again, to see that example of what happens when talent and hard work converge. And so, yeah, man, that's definitely something too that I just try to carry with myself. There are definitely some things and some skill sets and some attributes that I've been blessed with, but I'm more concerned about the hard work component, and making sure that I'm keeping myself honest there and bringing that to the table, because that's how you really become transformational as a leader.
Yeah, the team will move at the speed of the leader. So the faster that you're going, the harder that you're working. Again, it gets back to inspiring people to push themselves and to want to do more. So the last story, because we did mention Jay Williams, which is very similar to the Allen Iverson one. Again, he's going to LA, not meeting up with Kobe, but in his mind, the Lakers had just won the championship the year before, and Jay Williams was a great player for the Duke University, and then was drafted to play for the Chicago Bulls for a little bit before he got hurt. But he knew, okay, we're going to LA. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to work out, for about an hour or so, prior to the game. So he gets to the gym and he walks in and he already sees Kobe there, and Kobe's already been working out. So he figures, okay, I'm probably going to put about a good hour in and do my thing. So he does that. Probably worked out, he said, for about an hour and a half, and is at that point, I was like, okay, I feel good about what I did. I'm going to go to the sauna for a little bit and chill out. So he starts to leave, but he still sees Kobe working and practicing and doing this thing. So he was like, I'm just going to sit here. And he probably sat there for about 20 to 30 minutes watching Kobe, and then finally decided, all right, now it's time for me to go. I'm going to go ahead and get in the sauna to get ready for the game later. So they play the game, and he was like, it was like burning inside of him. Like, at the end of the game, I just had to ask Kobe. Like, he went up to him like, Kobe, like, I was in the gym working out. I saw you, like why? Like, why were you doing that? Why were you working out for as long as you were working out? And Kobe told him, I was like, well, like, I saw you there. And of course, I knew that we were playing, and there was no way that I was going to let you think that you were going to be working longer or harder than I was. And Jay Williams was just thrown back by that. And again, it just speaks to the level of excellence and the pursuit of excellence and how hard he was willing to work to achieve the goals that he was trying to achieve. And for our legacy leaders, again, when you talk about leaving a legacy for generations to come, again, we were both touched by his life. And I thought about it even last year. And, for me too, I guess it was profound because I, as a young man, I watched him his whole career, as a sports fan, kind of just growing up, again, same age and just watching him along the way. So it was just, again, just touching to me to see the loss of his life and, of course, his family members and stuff. But the legacy that he's left behind, again, is that Mamba mentality. And I'm sure for our folks out there that know Kobe or have followed him or maybe have listened and read some books, there's some different aspects to that Mamba mentality. But when it came to leadership, we really felt like there were some things that we wanted to pinpoint for you guys. So we talked about the self-confidence. We talked about how that self-confidence, definitely feeds into the ability to inspire people to shoot for greatness themselves and to dig down deep and maybe find something and bring out that they never even really knew that was there. Then accountability, your ability to hold people accountable, and the phrase that I'm gonna say I coined years ago, that healthy friction, and being transparent and not being afraid, like he said, to touch that nerve and to push people's buttons, but doing it because you're trying to get the best out of them. And if you don't want to work as hard, and if you're not going to be as passionate, then again, maybe you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be around on this team. And then the pursuit of excellence, just doing everything with excellence, from how you practice, from how you play in an exhibition charity game, to the time that people didn't see. And I think about the amount of hours that he put on the court where there was nobody around, and it was just him and that basketball and the thoughts in his mind and what he was doing, again, with that pursuit of excellence, to challenging designers and animators for them to be the best. And again, expecting that, asking of that, and then you see the fruits of that, when you see, again, the accolade of him even and his company, winning the honor of an Oscar, for somebody who was as great as he was as a basketball player. And then the other part of that legacy, when you lead with self-confidence, when you inspire others, you hold them accountable, you create that healthy friction that's appreciated, you're transparent, you have that pursuit of excellence. People love you for that. When you mentioned it earlier, when you hear his teammates, they appreciate that. And I think of Lamar Odom. I heard him saying, no, I needed Kobe. I needed Kobe when there's 4 minutes left to tell me, no, I need you to do this, and then I need you to do that. And he wanted that, and he desired that. He's, in literal words, I needed that from Kobe, because that was a level of respect and trust that he put in Kobe Bryant. And again, that's the legacy part of the legacy that he's left behind. And he said all his teammates that he won championships with, they all love him. They all loved him. The ones that probably thought different about him were the ones that they didn't win championships with. And there was a reason for that. You know what I mean? So, again, just a really good opportunity to really think about what does it mean to live as a leader worth following, and then how do you lead people to do the same, and then in doing so, leave a legacy for generations. So it was definitely fun, man, to be able to, again, kind of, go through some of these things a little bit more intently, listen to some of the quotes, watch some of the videos, and just read about, again, not just the great things that he did on the basketball court, but how those things and how he conducted his life. And he wasn't perfect by no stretch. I mean, there was adversity that he went through and things that he was challenged with in his life, but even working through that adversity to becoming the man, the husband, the father that he was, the supporter of not just his family and the women in his family, but again, women all over the world and the WNBA, and just the supporter that he was. again, it was just phenomenal to see that growth and watch that. So again, very appreciative of Kobe, the legacy that he's left behind, the Mamba mentality. We hope that you guys were inspired as well by just listening to some of the stories that we shared and just kind of our take and how it's touched us along the way. One thing I would say again, guys, we certainly appreciate you guys listening and watching on the YouTube channel. Again, please show us some love, leave some comments, go ahead and review the podcast itself. If you're more with the vidcast and watching us on the YouTube channel, make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel as well, and then hit that alert button so you're always alerted when we have new videos coming out. We're getting ready for next week, which is going to be the next episode 28, which is going to be about grit and perseverance, and really how do you use grit and cultivate grit in the workplace, which is a great segue from what we were just talking about when it comes to Kobe, because he exemplified grit and he definitely knew how to cultivate grit in his own workplace. So you're not going to want to miss that as well. And again, if you haven't checked out, one thing that we didn't touch upon was but all of those things allow Kobe to just have a laser-like focus. And you may be asking yourself, like, how do I do that? How do I develop that laser-like focus? We have put in a tremendous amount of work, and we've done everything that we can to pursue excellence, to create this online course for you guys, which is the Focus for Success e-learning course. Again, you can find it online. The link is going to be in the show notes. Definitely check it out. We have 2 separate video series, both 9 videos a piece. One is going to teach you everything you need to know as far as productivity secrets are concerned, or productivity hacks. If you're not able to get your to-do list done, if you feel like you're unorganized and just out of place, if you're a business person, an entrepreneur, you have so many things going on and you're trying to tackle everything with efficiency, it is definitely going to help you. And then there's so much distraction around us, right? So Devon crafted, again, 9 video series on distraction diffusion and how do you diffuse all of that, but more importantly, specifically for you. So Devon shows you and breaks down some things that you can do to find out a little bit more about your personality. And once you have that inside look, how do you use the techniques and strategy that we're teaching you, again, to be able to diffuse all of that, and then focus for success so that you can reach the goals that you want to achieve, and in doing so exemplify some of that Mamba mentality. So again, thank you very much. You can always follow us, Coach _ Jimmie G Jr. on Instagram. You can follow Devon as well at Leadership Docent. Follow us at Legacy Leadership on Instagram. Then YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. You can follow us and rock with us at the Legacy in Leadership podcast. And if you haven't joined us yet, what are you waiting for? Make sure that you join us in our Facebook community, which is Legacy Leader Community. We're going live every Wednesday for our cold brew and convos with the L3G coaches. And we're just teaching. Again, we talked about Kobe and how he taught and took that opportunity. We love to teach. We take that opportunity to do that in the Facebook group, so you don't want to miss that. So many, many ways to interact with us, to ask more questions, and to continue to have these conversations. So please do so, and then share. Share this content with somebody that you know is going to benefit from it, and be able to learn more about what it means to live as a leader worth following, how to lead others to do the same, and in doing so in their own way, leave a legacy for generations for their family and the people that they're close with. So again, Devon, I really appreciate just kind of hearing your feedback and your research and the things that you came across. It was good to again, just break down Kobe in this way in his leadership style, and again, deconstruct that Mamba mentality from our perspective. We hope that you guys enjoyed it as well. As always, until next time, we appreciate you guys very much. God bless and stay encouraged.
Rage on that beat, going crazy.
You have just listened to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, hosted by Jimmy Gonzalez and Devon Watts. Thank you, and we hope that you live, lead, and lead legacy worth remembering. Until next time.